Good morning, everyone. So we are admitting again people. So welcome to our new marketing webinar, the new title Influence Web Conference about 2022 influencer marketing trends. This is our last event for 2021, but we are super excited to start talking about 2022. So today we have two special guests for our virtual roundtable. We have Zoltan Palotai first.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Zoltan. I'm based in our Budapest office, Territory Influence, and I'm responsible for client services all over Europe. So basically flawless execution of campaigns.
And we also have Bethan Thomas.
Hi everyone, morning. My name's Bethan. I'm based in the UK. I'm a content creator. I've got my own Instagram and I've just started building a YouTube community as well. But I also have a lot of experience in social media. I am actually a social media manager freelance and have about 5 years experience in marketing. So I've got a bit of both ends for you today.
That's perfect. And thanks for your participation, guys. Quick info before we start, the webinar is currently recorded, so the replay video as well as the deck, the PDF, will be shared with you today per email. Also going through the trends, we will be able to take a couple of questions, so please use the chat features that you have on this Microsoft Teams window to interact with us. So, and you can also interact with us through emojis. I don't know if you have the entire assets of emojis, discussions, features, if you are currently already using Microsoft for your company. But if you do, it would be a pleasure to have those type of interactions. So really do not hesitate. It will be with pleasure. So before we go through the top 5 influencer marketing trends, let's understand how we came up with this list of influencer marketing trends. So we first started internally doing lots of research. We, of course, discussed with our experts, went through our real life observations, talking to clients, or brands, advertisers. And of course, we did lots of academic research, so went through different articles. We had finally this list of trends that we use to challenge consumers. So we activated our community platforms across Europe, so tnd.com platforms. We created that survey, pretty long survey, and really went into the details to collect insights, to confirm or infirm those trends and really get details to understand expectations from consumers, then their needs, their wishes for next year. So in terms of scope, we had UK, Germany, Austria, France, Switzerland, Spain, Italy, Hungary, Czechia, and Slovakia. Regarding socio-demographics data, so here it's pretty representative to our communities and not representative to the world. So 85% of female, 15% of male, and in terms of age, we had a majority of guys being aged 25 to 56 years old. So again, not representative, but here today, our goal is really to give you indications to take temperature for next year so you can make the best decisions for your influencer marketing plan. So we basically analyzed all the feedback, all the insights, all those personal opinions. And today we would like to enrich even more those insights with live testimonials. So from our agency expert, Zoltan, but also a content creator, a micro influencer, so Bethan from the UK. So that's really our methodology. And if you have any questions, not hesitate again to ask us on the chat. So we have 5 categories for the influencer marketing trends. We will first talk about social media platforms. Then we will have the new, the innovations, the things we have observed regarding influencers and their followers, so the community updates. Then we will discuss live streaming and the new social shopping habits with social commerce. Then CSR initiatives together with brands, so influencer and brands, how they can support CSR. And then the very last one, which might not be very 2022, a bit more 2030, but that we would like to start discussing, so VR, AR, but especially metaverse. So let's kick off the top 5. Let's start with the emerging social formats and the platforms. So here again, we collected 52,500 insights regarding the usage of social media, and what was very obvious is the increase, a huge boom after lockdowns. COVID-19 really made us consume more social media. And you can see here the variation across the platform ecosystem. Here, what I would like to emphasize is the importance to distinguish platforms where you consume content versus platforms where you follow influencers. So we can see, for instance, that Facebook is #1 platform when it comes to consuming content still, because again, of the target group we have, the audience we had for the survey. However, when it comes to following influencer, we can see this big drop. And then Instagram will be then the first one for influencer. So that's super important to keep in mind when you are doing influencer marketing. Consuming content cannot only be the only thing to take into account. We can see also here that there are like emerging platforms versus studies we have been doing in the past. So Pinterest and TikToks are clearly increased as well in terms of interest, especially with new disruptive type of content formats. If we check those two figures, so consumers really are aware of this trend, this increase. So half of the non-frequent users of whatever the platform are really interested in trying them next year. So there is a big, strong intention of consuming more next year, whatever the habits they currently have. And more than half of the current users will even more consume their favorite ones, such as Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So those are still this year the top 3 of social media. And one last interesting insight is, like I mentioned, so TikTok, Pinterest are joining the top 5 when it comes to where to follow influencer. We see that those platforms are really investing in new features, offering new options to content creators to do best their job. Especially Pinterest has done super recently a big festival giving tips on how to use their latest features, innovations. They are doing lots of academy content, and they are announcing lots of new offers for influencer marketing for Q1 2022. So those are really for us the big emerging platforms that we will need to keep an eye on. And I'm sure, Zoltan, you have been hearing a lot from clients regarding those social media. So what is your opinion on a client perspective regarding social media platforms?
So on these evolutions, I can basically say that from client perspective, it's driven definitely by 2 aspects. One is the critical mass, so how many people you can reach on the platforms, and the other one is targeting. So can you reach a specific niche target? So what we have seen in the past year is that Instagram is definitely still the most relevant for clients. And that's because of the critical mass they can reach there. Of course, there are new formats on Instagram, like the Reels, for example, which have been just quite recently introduced, and clients started to use them more intensively. And altogether, we can see that this video format, whether it's short format or long format, is becoming more and more popular with the clients. Obviously, YouTube for the longer formats, educational content, and TikTok definitely with the short form videos. And TikTok is specifically interesting because the critical mass is starting to definitely develop there, and also because it has a different tonality than all the other platforms. But when we talk about reaching a specific target group, then platforms such as Twitch, for example, are definitely very interesting for clients, because there they can reach a specific target group of gamers, which is very strongly represented there. So the affinity there is very high for gamers. And another trend which we see in the market, that from this move from macro influencers or star influencers to smaller influencers, such as micro or even nano influencers. So clients start more and more using these smaller reach influencers for their communication, because they have seen that the credibility of these people, the micro and the nano influencers, is very high. So people trust those influencers who potentially have smaller reach better, because it's a smaller community they manage. So it's a more personal conversation they are having with these influencers. Nevertheless, we see that there is definitely a need for new influencers to appear on the market. So we as an agency, we also try to drive this forward. We, in some markets, have even influencer academies where we try to educate our nano and micro influencers how they can become better in content creation, how they should communicate with their community, how they altogether should make their platform better. Because we see that the interest from client side is huge and demand is growing, and there is a limited number of good influencers. So we need to drive this forward on our side as well.
Thank you, Zoltan. So you were talking about the short video formats. That's actually something we have observed super strongly when discussing with consumers. So that's for us the winning content format this year, and we are sure this will be still very popular next year because of two reasons. So first, they said it's super entertaining, also very informative. So you have here an example of a campaign we did in Germany for a fashion brand where we ask influencers to be super like creative in showing that the item was like waterproof. So we had some live tests with this guy putting a drink all over his body. So that was pretty fun. So again, those short video format really enable like creativity, and I'm sure you, Bethan, use that format a lot, and you have a lot to say on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. If I'm ever working with a brand or a product, I tend to opt for short video at the moment. It's my go-to. There are a few reasons for it. Number one, especially if the brand is asking for something on Instagram, I know that Instagram is really trying to push the short video because obviously it's trying to compete with TikTok, it's trying to compete with YouTube Shorts. So therefore, if a brand approaches me and wants to work with me, then I want to obviously get as much exposure as possible for that brand. So I'm going to opt for the short video because I know that Instagram are really pushing it. I mean, you can actually see on the app now, they've got a whole section, a whole button just for Reels. And what that means is essentially that your content on Instagram for many years, you've only really been able to grow via the explore page or get extra exposure by the explore page. But now with this new Reels button, you can literally scroll through videos just as you would on TikTok, and you can be exposed to a whole world of people that aren't actually following you already. So from my perspective, and from a brand perspective, it's, you know, really important to be using those features. The other reason that I tend to opt for them is because the relationship between myself and the person following me is really important to me, and I want to show more than just a photo. I want to show why I'm using a product or why I'm using a brand. I want to give them a bit of a background, a bit of a story. I want to, you know, show how it's used in my life, as opposed to just here's a picture of me with a product, you know. And so from my perspective, I always try to opt for the short video. I find I gain more trust between myself and the follower or the viewer because they can actually see me physically using it. You know, I'm not just saying it. It's one thing saying you're using something, and another thing seeing me use something. Did you want me to share a couple of examples of
maybe one quickly?
How I've used it? Yeah, so I did do a advert with a brand called It's Sunny. I think it appears at some point in this presentation, but it was basically, the idea was a waxing product. So I didn't want to just stand with a picture with some waxing strips. I really wanted to show my followers, you know, how it was relevant to their life. And for me, I go to the gym every single morning. Waxing my arms and shaving my legs is very important to me. So I thought, why not put this into my routine? Getting up, putting my gym kit on, realizing that I had hair under my arms, running back upstairs and using this product, which was so easy to use. And that way the audience then really resonates with it. And I did actually get quite a lot of messages from people saying, is it really that easy? Like, did you actually like the product? And I was like, yeah. And actually I've been using that product ever since I did that advert, which is brilliant. Another example would be if it was like a food or drink, I'd rather show it within my day. So I'd rather show my whole day of eating than just me with the product. So I can do like a what I eat in a day, which tend to, you know, go really viral. Actually, they're really engaged kind of short videos. So yeah, I'd rather put the product in my day and exactly how I'm using it, rather than just showing the product basically, or in a recipe, same kind of example. But yeah, that's my kind of thoughts on it.
Aging in real life, that's a good one. Thank you, Bethan, for sharing the stories behind Instagram Reels. Another thing we have observed is in terms of latest features on Instagram, we have the swipe up links who disappeared, and consumers so noticed that change, actually appreciated that change, and 40% even realized that they were more clicking now, that it's not, you know, only limited to the 10K follower accounts. So that's also another opportunity, marketing opportunity for brands that maybe had less than 10K followers first to have call to actions, but also for influencer, nano micros to have also the chance to drive traffic on and to have more interactions with their audience. So if we had to summarize, Zoltan, quickly, what would be the learnings for the marketers?
Yes, really quickly, because we mentioned all these points. So you should definitely consider.
Yep.
Can you switch off the sound, because I think people want...
It's already switched off. Okay, strange.
Now it is.
I can't.
Thank you. I could. So basically, it all depends on your objective. So let's start. First of all, you need to definitely follow the trends and then align based on your objectives what you want to achieve. So whether you want to reach a mass market, whether you want to reach a niche market, do you need videos? Do you need still images? Do you need more education? What kind of tonality you want to have surrounding your communication? So all these aspects you need to take into consideration when you choose the right platform for your communication. And based on these objectives, once they are clearly defined, you can make the right choice. You need to refrain from using the same material on each platform, because platforms are so different. So you really need to adapt your content to whatever platform you want to use it. And a very, very good tip is to start using new features of platforms as soon as you can, as soon as you dare, basically, because it is proven that if you start using early, the algorithm of that particular platform is going to put your posts in an advantageous place. So you might increase your reach significantly if you embrace new features early.
Thank you, Zoltan. So let's jump into the second trend, community revolution. So here, authenticity will be key for us. So it was already very important, but consumers have expressed needs of having more authentic relationships with influencers, not only in terms of content, so sharing personal stories in a sincere way, but also in terms of partnerships. So using, for instance, the hashtag advertising and clearly explaining that they are currently doing a collaboration, a partnership with a brand. So 65% have noticed more and more that, and we can see variations across Europe. So this might be also due to the fact that some markets are more mature than others. And for instance, DAR doesn't mean that they are not following the rules. It might mean more that, you know, it's less of a new thing for us, for them. So they have noticed way before that it was already used. So it's not a new thing versus maybe some other countries. So this should be how we can analyze these charts. What is important is consumers feel reassured. So when they see that type of transparency, so it's really a win-win situation for content creators, for consumers, for brands. And the last very interesting insight I will ask you, Bethan, on is the trust connected to the amount of followers. So here we have really seen that it's not a thing anymore. Anyone can win over. Nano, micro, macro, star influencer. Trust isn't connected to audience amount of followers anymore. Do you agree, Bethan?
Yeah, I do. I think that the market has totally changed in that way. I think people see through things a lot easier. I think because social media has become such a big thing, that the kind of number of following is not such a thing anymore. I think it's more about the relationship between the follower and the person. And it's so key to have the relatable content between the, you know, for example, for myself, I would only ever take on something that was relevant to my audience, and therefore, you know, there's a level of trust between us. So I think that instead of the number of following, it needs to be the right fit, and it needs to be content that's relatable, and you know, that there's just such a more level of trust. I also think aside from that, I have to say, I think that a macro and a micro can do equally as well, so long as the relatability is still there. Because if the macro influencer becomes somebody totally unrelatable to their audience, then that's where you kind of lose that level of trust. So it's about creating content that is relevant to the audience, no matter, you know, your circumstance, your life. And also, I think it's about repetition aside from the following. I actually think it's about not just putting an advert out there and that being the end of the relationship between you and that brand. I think people, there's actually a theory I read somewhere, it's called the theory of 7. And it's about somebody seeing something 7 times before they actually decide, right, okay, I'm going to buy that. So when you're, you know, looking for influencers, I think it's important to try and, you know, think, how can you reach a consumer 7 times? Is that going to be, you know, using a macro influencer where everybody sees it, and then using a micro influencer multiple times so that that consumer has then consumed that content multiple times? Is it using multiple different types of platforms? And I think ultimately what people are finding is that actually the micro influencers are the one that wins them over, and you know, they might have seen it elsewhere throughout the macro influencers, but then the micro influencers are the one that, you know, they really trust in, and that they eventually then go and buy the product or use the, you know, whatever it is. So that would be my opinion on that one.
Thank you, Bethan. So this trust is also super important when we are talking about media synergies. So here we have the example of a GDE campaign we have currently in France on Instagram and TikTok for the Law Barista brand. And here, so we've gathered different feedbacks from consumers. So they are first seeing more and more this media exposure from influencer content to traditional media. And the more they see influencer, you know, testimonials sharing their personal experiences with the product, the more trust they actually give to the brand messages. So it really gives credits to those campaigns. Zoltan, do you have an additional opinion regarding media synergies and learning for marketers?
Well, basically you said it all. So you should definitely consider using influencer marketing not as a standalone leg of your communication, but integrated into all the other actions you are carrying through. So leverage the content of traditional media, but adapt it definitely to the social media platform. and vice versa. So there is a lot of content being created during influencer marketing campaigns for your brand product. So leverage that, and not only the content, but also the insights which you gather through such campaigns in your traditional media communication, because that will add this tremendously strong effect of creating awareness plus creating the trust. And that will definitely drive conversion higher.
True. Any other tips?
Well, altogether on this topic, I think it's a very natural and for me a positive evolution. What is now happening in influencer marketing, that it is now really part of the media communications mix. So we have to follow all the guidelines, all the rules, legal rules related to any type of advertising, basically. And I think this is positive. Because we are moving away, or we have already moved away actually, from being this guerrilla marketing initiative and being just a one-off standalone thing in the marketing communication mix of a client. So that's definitely positive, but it also brings with itself this risk, or with this additional job for agencies as well as clients to choose the right influencer who follows these rules, who communicates in a really credible way, trustworthy way with their communities. So it definitely requires attention and the proper selection of who we want to work with.
Thank you, Zoltan. Let's proceed with number 3, so the boom of first live streaming, and then we will go through the new shopping habits with social commerce. So live events, I'm sure you have all been exposed to a live event, maybe attended or organized one. So here you can see the differences between formats. So watched events versus interest for non-watchers. So because we predict that there will be more and more interest in the future in 2022, especially when it comes to live events. So here you can see how interested the consumer were, also non-watchers, and that influencer actually play an important role when it comes to live events. So 72% would like to have an influencer either hosting completely the live event or having this geo with a brand person. So I think Bethan, live events is something also that you're particularly fond of. Can you please share your personal experience?
Yeah. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, people are wanting to be closer and closer to the influencer for it to be as relatable as possible. And I'm sure that you've all noticed there's been such a change in how content's coming out in terms of trying to be as raw as possible. So the removal of all these filters, and then the start of all these videos as opposed to just a picture that's been edited or whatever. And off the back of that, I think that the live streaming is then this whole new world of it is literally live. So when you're watching it, there is no filter there is no editing there. It's just you watching raw content, and I think that's where it's really powerful, because that's what people are now looking for, is literally watching without any editing whatsoever. So therefore that is probably why the live thing is becoming more and more powerful. And again, it's almost like this relationship or this friendship between the audience and the influencer, and where you can see there with like the influencer Q&As, people are they can respond to the live stream. So it's like almost like a new generation of TV. I mean, I myself, I don't even watch television anymore. I don't even have a television license. Sometimes I'll watch Netflix, but apart from that, I'll be watching video or I'll be watching live streaming. So it is like this new generation of television where you can actually where you can actually interact with the person on television, essentially. So yeah.
Thank you, Beth. And social commerce. So here, just a quick definition to make sure we speak the same language for social commerce. So here we are talking about being aware, considering a product and buying a product, remaining on social media platforms. So never exiting that platform, never being redirected to, for instance, Amazon or an e-shop on a brand website, for instance. So this is really coming from Asia. It's now exploding in the US. And for us, it's going to be very strong in Europe super shortly. It's already starting. So maybe you in the audience have been already purchasing product services directly on Instagram, for instance. So here we can see that consumers are also following that trend. So 46% have already purchased one product on social media. 72% will be willing to do so next year. And we can see that when influencers are part of the social commerce process and recommend, explain to their audiences an item, share personal stories, it works also. So 63% would tend to buy more if they have this either live event or post this content. Any thoughts on that one, Zoltan, regarding social commerce?
Yeah, I think this is definitely a trend we need to monitor. And I saw popping up a question, what kind of new social media features I was referring to in the previous part of the presentation. And one of them is, for example, social media solutions. So most of the social media platforms are now rolling out or have already rolled out social selling solutions. And they will come and they will develop also in the future. So we need to see what is coming and need to jump on the train as fast as possible. But in my opinion, it's going to be an additional metric of influencer advertising, basically. So we will move away from only reach and engagement, and it's going to be really hard fact figures of sales uplift, of conversion created by influencer marketing.
Indeed, that would make sense to have more KPIs related to social commerce. So if we had to wrap up this section, Zoltan.
Yeah, so basically for the first part of the live events, maybe just one note there, because I'm sure that there are a lot of clients who are a little bit of afraid doing live events with their products because they fear losing control. So if you consider doing it, then, and if you have this fear of control, I really recommend strongly to plan ahead all the details. What is your objective? How do you want your product to be featured? Discuss this, align with this with the influencer, have a proper briefing, verbally if possible, so that you really align your expectations so that there is no negative surprise happening during the live event and everyone's going to be happy in the end. The influencer, the community, as well as the brand, the client himself. And as for social commerce, I just recommend start doing it. So set up your boutique, start selling campaigns via social media platforms, and start monitoring how influencer marketing can drive up your sales. And as I said before, it's going to be a very strong and reliable metric for influencer marketing in the future.
So let's get started. Okay, trend number 4, world-changing cooperation. So now we are going to discuss CSR initiatives. So we have seen that consumers have higher expectations, not only for brands, but also for influencers, because they understand, again, their power, the role they can play. So here you can see that, for instance, consumers have within their buying criteria more and more this, CSR actions initiatives in mind, like are brands taking actions towards a sustainable future? Are they working for, social causes? So this is something that matters more and more for consumers. Also, they believe 88% of them that companies and how they communicate have a great impact on shaping our worldview. So this is very important. They know companies, brands have this power to influence. So for sure, they need to do it right. and influencer can support them in multiple ways. So again, influencers are taken also responsible when it comes to CSR and how they can act for a better future. And diversity was also something that came very often in our responses and feedback and insights from consumers. So they want to see more diverse characters, not only in ads, but also in influencer posts, also brands collaborating with more diverse type of profiles. Here, Bethan, do you have any comments on this CSR? Do you agree with consumers that influencer can play an important role for, brands, supporting brands when it comes to CSR?
Yeah, so I think, again, with the level of trust between the influencer and the consumer, this is really important, because ultimately the influencer wants to make their audience happy, and they, I know with me, like, I value them so much. I want to look after them, I want to care for them, and I want to provide things that that help them and that they that align with them morally. So in that sense, it's so important for me to listen to them and to provide things that they think are morally correct as well. I can definitely give some examples. So probably about maybe 6 months ago, I wanted to buy a whole new wardrobe, and I said to my followers, shall I do a haul? Shall I do it from here, or here? And I got a couple of messages from a couple of young girls, and they said, look, really want you to do a haul, but please, can you not use these brands as an example, for these reasons? And essentially it comes down to fast fashion, not being sustainable, that kind of thing. And it really threw me off, because I thought, wow, like, they are really watching, and they're really thinking about this, and they really care. So obviously I then have to act on their response to those things. So in that sense, I'm going to always want to provide things that align with them. And so, yeah, I do think that influencers do have a role in making sure that brands are creating things that are sustainable for our future, and that align morally, and that brands are using diversity as well. Like, we have such a big impact on how we shape our viewers' lives, essentially. They're watching us every day, so we want to be a part of brands that are doing the right things in that sense.
Thank you, Bethan. And I think we have campaign examples to share with you today. So Zoltan, you wanted to share 2 stories, one from the SCT group and one from the Lena sustainable platform.
Yeah, let's maybe start with the second one. So the Lena sustainability platform in Germany was very successfully promoted with Instagram and TikTok influencers. So again, just underlining what Beth said previously, that influencers are definitely open and looking for these kind of communications. So CSR initiatives is something they want to do. The other example was a European-wide SCT campaign for Libres Nena, where we basically wanted to break the taboo of menstruation with the help of nano influencers from all over Europe. So again, a very delicate topic. You might not in the past wanted to talk about it, but that was exactly the objective of the brand, to get away from this, to move further, because it's an important topic we need to address, they need to address. And influencers were very happy to do that.
Indeed. So if we shall summarize again, Zoltan, what would be the learnings for marketers?
The learnings are that consumers definitely do look for these kind of initiatives. So it is kind of an expectation from them, and it's not enough to just fake something, but you should really do something about it. Influencers are happy to help to carry out these kind of initiatives, and basically just embrace it. Just think about what you as a company can do, what your brand could do to make the world better, because this is a definitively important topic nowadays. So
do you
have
mind
to
if
do
I just
something
add?
about it.
Do you
Sure.
mind if I just add something there? Just as an example, you know, off the back of those comments that I receive or those messages, it does then mean that when I receive emails from brands in the future, I have rejected brands that I don't think are doing, you know, the right things. So I think it is really important to note, you know, how important it is, and that, you know, there might be a possibility you lose you know, influencers if you aren't considering those really important things that are happening in the world right now.
Thanks for adding this.
So that's true. They are more and more picky, but in a healthy, positive way. And this should add pressure on brands to do the right thing, definitively. An influencer, just beyond rejecting offers, could also help offer support, I don't know, do co-creation. So that's the point of influencer aren't just here to promote brands, promote products, services. They can really be involved in different type of actions with brands. They can really be the co-marketers of the marketing service and really help out in different various ways. Thanks for adding that comment, Bethan. Okay, we have a couple of minutes left, so let's finish with the metaverse. I'm sure you have heard about it, but just again to make sure we speak the same language, very quick definition. So the metaverse is like a combination of multiple elements of technology, like virtual reality, augmented reality, videos where users could live do different actions within a digital universe. So they could, I don't know, join via an avatar, interact with their friends, maybe influencers, buy things with actual money, engage, do work meetings, conferences. So that's very like a big project. According to Mark Zuckerberg, like you would be able to do almost anything you can imagine. So that sounds very amazing and exciting. So of course, when we ask consumers if they have heard about the concept, so the younger, the more yes, and the older, the more no's. But they are all definitively super interested, very curious in that concept. And especially when we ask them, would you project your, I mean, do you think you will really engage? Like, will you take part in that type of activity, especially if an influencer is over there? Like, will you connect with them? Would you discuss, try to, I don't know, interact with us? 44% currently with their level of knowledge say yes. So that's, for us at least, that sounds promising. That sounds exciting. There is a potential. I don't know, Bethan, if you have another insight to provide, but what do
I
you
mean,
think of
it's like this,
metaverse?
isn't it? Yeah. Do you know what? I think it's really interesting because way back when I was a teenager, there was this thing called meetups, and I know they're still, you know, sometimes available now, but I actually think that this whole idea of the metaverse is almost like a safer version of a meetup for an influencer, especially a macro influencer, for example. I have noticed myself, you know, I am friends with some macro influencers, and for them, their managers are saying, you know, I want to do a meetup, I want to, you know, really interact with my audience on a whole new level. And their manager's saying, you know, it's not actually safe for you to do that. So I think actually there is a space for this. I think it could be really exciting, whenever that would be. But yeah, that's my kind of view on that one.
So the when is a real question. So apparently it won't be ready before 5-10 years, but they have still started to work on it. Also, Microsoft is investing a lot, not only Facebook. There are lots of players out there investing. So let's see. So again, not very 2022, maybe more 2030, but still here super quickly, we would advise you marketers to really keep an eye on this trend. It's very disruptive. If Facebook, Meta now does the same effect as a decade ago, it can be really massive, life-changing for us, especially in the digital marketing field. So let's keep an eye on it. But in the meantime, let's always, find ways to offer exciting new experiences. So there are lots of various ways to activate AR or VR when it comes to influencer marketing. We have, for instance, the stories. Sorry, oops, spoiler. We have on the side this Saint-Michel example. That's a food brand in France. So for them, but also for multiple brands, we develop AR filters on Instagram. So that's another way to engage in a fun way your target group, your audiences on, for instance, Instagram. So that's very easy, quick to do. This can be easily integrated in your campaign, and this might help you go viral very shortly and connect on a deeper level. And we added this in a safe way to reflect on what Bethan said. So you could actually meet those guys thanks to Meta, but in a safe way because it would be still virtual. So without the physical risks of actually meeting in person followers, audiences. So many options, so many marketing opportunities for you. So to really summarize this 45-minute roundtable, and sorry for the couple of minutes delay. Again, our survey responses, our testimonials are just indications for you. Those are not representative, but still it's for you to have indications for next year trends to take into account like priorities and help you make the best decisions when it comes to allocating budgets, but also making decisions in further details for your campaigns, choice of influencers, choice of platforms, and so on. So according to us, you should really consider all the evolutions of social medias, the new latest features, where they are invested in, for instance, social commerce, growing expectations. So followers are your consumers. So we need to take into account, their needs, their wishes, how, when, how often they are buying, consuming. So understanding them is really a key element as well to fine-tune your marketing plan for next year. And of course, leverage all the disruptive opportunities that could help you differentiate, stand out from the crowds for 2022. For us, priorities must always be aligned, of course, with those target group, like I said, but also your corporate values. So going back to the CSR subject, very important, no matter the size of your budget, to always have this in mind and to try to do the right thing together with influencer. That's becoming something critical, mandatory for your consumers. And of course, stay alert in general. And if you have more questions, if you need more guidance, we are, of course, here to help and support, like always. So last question was, do you have any last questions, even though we are a bit late, and sorry for that. I have seen actually questions in the chat. So if you have still a couple of minutes on your agenda, we can maybe start answering them. So maybe together with Zoltan, we can take questions regarding allocation of budget. So there is one regarding the weights of marketing budget allocated to content production. Zoltan, do you want to take that one?
What's the question?
So what should be the weight of the marketing budget allocated to content production?
I don't think there is a right or wrong answer to this. So it depends on the objective. So what we see is that there are influencers who are really professional content creators, and they definitely can create content for your communications initiatives for far less than an advertising agency. So when it comes to videos or even still photo productions, you might consider really utilizing the power of these influencers. How much the budget should be is really dependent on the total size of your budget, your objectives in terms of reach, and overall what kind of content you would like to produce in the end.
Mm-hmm. Also, I would add to that influencers are actually great opportunities to produce content. And I mean, combining the budget of influencer marketing and content production, because actually the influencer will be able to produce that type of content.
Yeah.
in an authentic, then powerful way that you can leverage afterwards in your media plan. So I can't say it's in a cheap way, but it's in an effective way that you can combine those budgets, leveraging on the power of influencers to produce creative assets for your media campaigns. We have another question regarding how to divide budgets. So it's very budget oriented today. How to divide budgets between traditional digital media and influencers. So I guess here it will be the same kind of answer, Zoltan. Like that really depends on your objective. What do you want to prioritize? What is your goal? Like if it's mass reach, then of course you need to have more boosting, more media activations on top of influencer. If it's more engagement, number of content could be more focused on influencers. So I don't know, Zoltan, if you have another insight to provide.
Maybe another thought on this, that the line between influencer budget and social media budget is getting more and more blurred. So it's just basically a communications budget you spend in digital. And then again, what you just said, depending on your objective, do you want to play out this content via the influencers to create this trust element for your communication? Do you want to use the influencers for content creation and then boost those contents which they have created via the additional part of your social media budget? So it's one online digital communications budget you have to consider and then split up based on your objectives.
True. And another regarding tracking effectiveness measurement. So this type of question we love. So how would we measure direct sales apart from influencer codes? So here, something that we didn't have the time to explain in today's webinar is that we activate two types of channels. So we have offline influencer marketing, online influencer marketing. So of course, for the online world, discount codes are a good way to track. Of course, trackable links are also another way. You can also do affiliation programs to have even more direct tracking when it comes to sales. That also depends on where your consumers or influencer followers can buy your products. I mean, if it's on a brand e-shop, it's easier to track than on a partner platforms. And offline, actually, we are currently using the same A/B testing methodology that you can activate for, out of home or any type of traditional media lever. So we team up with institutes like GfK, Nielsen, Kantar, IRI to basically track the offline, the word of mouth, the peer-to-peer recommendations, and the traffic generated to in-store to the retailers, to the shops, the offline shops. And with this A/B testing mode, we can really isolate the sales generated by offline influencers in a particular time period, going through different indicators, different KPIs. So you can, track sales, you can track market shares, all the classic KPIs you have in your brand analytics. So that's something we do pretty regularly for the offline world, on top of the classic methods you have for the online, like I said, codes, trackable links, affiliations, those type of activations.
I think
there is a
there's one
question for you.
me.
Yes.
Yeah. So very occasionally I'll contact a brand, but I find most of it comes through an agency. So that's kind of out of my hands as to where they found me. I would assume it would be through hashtags, through potentially me, collaborating with other influencers. I've found that as well. Like, I've been invited to events because I've got friends in the same kind of world who have been invited to the event. So that can kind of happen. So it's quite important to watch influencers, who are they interacting with? Is there anybody else that they're friends with that you could perhaps engage with as well? And I do think hashtags are really important as well, especially if you're looking for a niche audience. If it's health or, fitness, something like that, just looking through those hashtags, seeing what comes up, you can easily find thousands of micro influencers and nano influencers on there as well.
Yeah, and if you're interested, so in micro, macro types of influencers, so we do have a dedicated database called InCircles in Europe. So don't hesitate to contact us, and of course we will find you best influencer. We might include Bethan if you want to address the UK market. But yeah, we have thousands and thousands of really good profiles. So InCircles might be a way for you to identify those types of influencers. And for your info for nanos, so more the bottom bottom part of the influencer marketing pyramid, we also have the TR&D communities I was talking about earlier when I was mentioning the survey methodology. So that's TR&D, InCircles, so two brand platforms we use for identifying, selecting, activating influencers for your info if you're interested in running campaigns with us. Okay, so I don't see any more questions coming into the chat. Then I guess it's time for us to say goodbye. A big thanks for your participation, for your time. Thanks for the questions. I hope you got the answer you were looking for. If you have more, if you want to, of course, challenge us with briefings, if you have technical things to ask to us, do not hesitate. You have here our email address, so hello influence@territory.group to contact Zoltan and I. We are here to help. And if you want to follow Bethan, that's @BethanTomo on Instagram and on YouTube. So don't hesitate to get some healthy foods, lifestyle tips, really great content. I can only advise you to follow her on both channels. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely day. Talk to you soon and see you in 2022. Have a happy, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Thank you,
all
everyone.
the best wishes for the end of the year.
A good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.